So on to that top trade, and we talked about the false break, and the false break all came on that break of 13,300. Once we failed to get up above there, this was then the opportunity for the false break. Now you can be looking for a false break up here, but ultimately this market could have consolidated, we could have drifted higher, we could have done all sorts of things. The double top gives you a little bit of a clue and potentially a little bit of a trade opportunity there. But where the trade really comes in is once you get back down below 13,299s to 90. This effectively was your sell zone if you were playing this double top as a false breakout. And also at this point in time, you're thinking, well, we've put in an open drive down, failed auction to the downside and rally. Single prints, possibly a P shape, but ultimately, seeing as we didn't have a great deal of short positioning, it was unlikely to be P-shaped, and so potentially still trend-like. It's only then once you get through 90, so into the single prints, that you can then look for that drop. Initially though, down towards 67 seems like a fine target. So whilst we can look back at this and say, oh, you should have got short at 13,300 and gone for the move all the way down towards 12,962. On the initial move, I think it was quite a fair trade to be looking for a break of here, back down to the initial balance. You then got a bounce, and once you were then into the initial balance again, very, very similar price action to here. Pressure built and built and built around 65, and that was what really gave you the clue that this was on for a much bigger move. So I think the first trade in this was more of a short-term play. The second trade was what gave you the clue that this had a bigger move in it. And so it was a case of sort of in cover, and then you could, once you saw that pressure come back, so same repeating price action pattern as up here, then you could start believing in a much, much larger move. So the clues were all there, but only really once you got through 13,265 for that much, much larger move. So I'll show you this just now in how it trades. So this is the DAX trading up at around 13,305. So we're just coming down into this point here. We've already had one snap off the lows, and that snapped very, very fast and then started to trickle back up. But you note that that drift back up couldn't get back up towards 32s, and then the move starts to drop again. So we start getting this pressure building here, and all the way down down this move, very, very sort of heavy, steady type dropping. You never got a great deal of bounce each time we dropped, but equally not loads of sort of pushing down. And this is what I mean by that pressure, that it wasn't surging to the downside. You never felt that this had got hugely aggressive, but it never felt like it had any let up. You see here, this beginning of drop just here, down towards those double O's. Now, if you were looking at this thinking, well, I could have a go at buying this area here and go for their rally, you wouldn't feel comfortable. Imagine you'd bought this just here, and this is what got me into the idea of this trade. That I'd seen this kind of thing before, where you from a chart want to buy 13,300, but when you look at the ladder, it never feels like there's any willingness to move up, and then you start getting this larger order here, which disappears, and that's someone effectively trying to spoof their way into a short before the move goes. And so that was, to me, the sign or the chance to get in. That was your opportunity to get yourself short just above the level. Now at this point we still haven't broke, but Euro Stoxx is already weak. The previous daily high was at 15s, and this dropped through quite quickly, so Euro Stoxx has given you some clues. DAX has then been spoofed and then drops below 99. Now this is where it really struggles, and this is where you really feel the pressure. Couldn't get above 99, fast snap down towards 90. Now you notice here almost no bounce at all then. 90 trades, back to 94. Do you start seeing any pickup? It sort of slows down there, and no one tries to buy it, but there's still a willingness to come in and sell and sell and sell. And this is what I mean by that pressure, and I think often it's the case of put yourself on the other side of the trade How would you be feeling now if you were long 00? It's just suddenly snapped to 90. It doesn't seem to show any sign of bouncing. There's no sort of quick whip back up. It's just 90 trade, and then we drop again to 80, and this is where people really start to panic. This is what accelerates that move down and gives yourself that chance to be targeting down at those initial balance highs. So that's the real sort of crux of this trade. It was about that pressure as you got down towards the level, and then on any drop, the just complete inability for it to put in a bounce. Yeah, every time it drops, even if on this quick flick back up here, we traded 72s, little flick to 76s, but it's never giving you anything more. We've just suddenly dropped the best part of 30 ticks, and you can't get more than a 3-tick bounce in it. That's a bit of a sign that this has got a lot of heaviness in it. It's got a lot of weight above, and it's pressuring this market down, and that's what creates the problem. Or not the problem, but that gives you your indication and creates this sense that this market has got selling in it at the moment. And this continued. We saw exactly the same kind of pattern when we got down here again towards 65s after a bit of bounce. We saw it again later on, just before or just after the US pit open, and then just before 3 o'clock again, to really drive this move to the downside. So that's the kind of thing that you're looking for, and it's all about this sort of pressure that it doesn't necessarily become very aggressive, but it feels like it cannot ever get away from the level. That's what I mean by a sort of pressure building trade. It never gives you any kind of sense that if you bought it here, you'd get away with it. And as that builds and builds and builds, eventually those who do buy it, because they're just trading off a chart, don't get away with it. Their stops get triggered and the move drops fast. Right, we'll move it on to Euro and play of the week. Now, this is perhaps the fastest result of a play of the week that I think I've done in all the time that I've been doing these.